Welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way. And this week I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I've put together a little more complex image. I've done a lot of quick and easy projects that just take a few minutes, but this week I want to challenge you a little bit. I've taken quite a few sets and put them together, and I want to challenge you to do the same. Take out some of those sets and some of those elements and try them in some different combinations. I've used a lot of sets on this image. Actually, I've used about 8. So I really want to challenge you to try that yourself for a couple of reasons. Number one, to stretch yourself a little bit, not because this is more difficult, but just because it's a lot of fun to make things a little more complex, and it just takes a little bit of planning. So I'm using containers from several different sets. I'm going to use this container right here. This is from the Southwest set. I'm going to use this container from the Clay Pot set. This one from Watercolor Series 3, so this is set 2, and the Cobblestones. We're going to use these Cobblestones. We're going to use these flowers from here, from the Project Series 6. The daisies from the Cottage by the Beach. The vines from the Spring Basket. And of course, from our Flowers and Foliage set, we're going to use the filler flowers, the grasses, and the vine. So try this. You'll see that these things really do work together well. They really do go together. So you can take a combination of things and make some really cool projects. So try this. It's really fun. And don't be intimidated by something like this just because it's a bigger image. It's just combining all the elements that you know how to stamp, just putting it in a little bigger, into a little bigger project. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start out by stamping the container that's in the front. And let me bring this back and just show you. So here's the little square container right here. You can see this is in the front. This is in the foreground. So we're going to stamp this one first. So let's put that on a block, this little square pot. And you can use any of your containers. I picked these, but you can use any of the ones that you have. They're all going to work the same. So let's ink that. We're going to stamp it sort of towards the bottom, so a little bit past the center in the front like this. And I've cut a mask, so I'm going to cover this because I want to stamp the other pot behind. So this is the little round one now. It's just behind this little square one. So I'm going to use the 86 again. Same color again. And ink this little round pot. And we're just going to stamp it right next to the square one. And then let's ink the one in the background. So we've got this big clay pot that's in the background. So you can see that it's a little bit higher than these two. So we really only need to ink the top part. So just past this little horizontal line here. So we can use the small block since we're only using half of this. And let's ink this up. Just past that horizontal line. And we're going to stamp it a little ways above here. I want to make sure we have enough room in here for all the flowers. So we want to leave enough space in between. And now I'm going to cover this pot again here because I want to stamp the cobblestones in now. So I don't want to stamp over the tops of these containers, and I really don't need the whole thing. So I think I'm going to stop about here and here. I can go clear to the bottom, but I don't need to ink the whole thing. That is the great thing about stamping, is because you can use just the elements that you need. So little bits and pieces of these stamps are just the best. Okay, so start about halfway up the containers. Stamp this in here, and there we go. We can remove the mask now, and we've protected these little areas here, and we're ready to go on to our next step, which is to pull the color out of the lines. So let's start by doing that. Just drag some of this color out from the side. Remember, the area that's closest to you, see how this little square pot looks like it's coming forward? So we want to make sure that that is the lightest area. I don't want to lose that line. If you color that all in solid, you're going to lose this angle right here. So let's drag this out now. pinch your brush off. Remember to pinch your brush. So dip it in water, pinch it off, and then pull the color out of the lines. Super easy. Make sure you leave a highlight now on this pot. That's what's going to make it look rounded. Never ever color anything in solid. That's such a hard thing to do. I think it goes back to our elementary school days where we were told to color in the lines, and now we're trying to undo that. So the other thing is too, remember, don't cross the horizontal lines. So don't cross over. Make sure you stay inside those lines or you lose the integrity of the image. We don't want it to look flat. And when you bring your brush down over these lines, you're gonna lose this texture of the pot. So try to remember that, to stay inside the lines and just drag that color out. This too needs a highlight in the center. Anytime you have something that's rounded, you want to make sure that you leave that highlight in there. Okay, so let's take that fine tip now and really darken in these areas inside this handle. When you can do that, be sure to do that because it's really going to pop your image out. And I would actually put a little dark line in here as well. Okay, and we are ready to go on to the next step. Okay, so once we've got that color pulled out of the lines, we're going to take a little bit now and drag it to the outside. So we get a little background going on here. Just a little bit. Okay, so now let's go on to the cobblestone. We're just going to pull a little of this color out. It doesn't take a lot. We just kind of want the idea of this cobblestone underneath. So just drag a little of this color out. It's going to be darker in here where the pots are. So you can pull some of this color down. And that's about all we need to do with that. Okay, so let's go on to the flowers and the foliage. So let's add a little grass now to this one. We're just going to stamp that in and repeat. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stamp that, add water to it, and drag that color up and out. See, just like this. And let's add the flowers to it. We're going to use these cute little flowers here. Put those on there. The stem, I'm only using part of it because I don't need to use the whole thing in this small container. So I'm just going to ink about half. That's the nice thing about a stamp, is that we can ink just the parts we want to. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp it in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to get a lot of these little flowers in here, so I'm going to do it again. And this time I'm only going to stamp the blooms, so not the stems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I can add the water and just touch all these little tiny areas. Just the tip of your brush. And it just kind of pops that color out, doesn't it? Makes it look so bright. Okay, so we're good with that one. Let's add a couple of vines to it. This is the vine from the foliage set. So we're just going to put this on here, ink it with some green, any green. Stamp that in there a few times. Maybe a couple more over here. And then we'll just add our water. And just blend that color. Just soft, just touch it. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So this little planter here, let's add the flowers in here. We're going to use the number 29, so this Prussian blue. And we're going to ink the little daisy bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you can get more than that, that's even better. Add some water to that. Just dab. Remember, you're just softening the lines, so not the white areas. You're just touching that colored part. I like to hang it over the side. So just drag that color all the way over. Okay, so let's clean that off a little bit, clean that stamp off, and now we're going to stamp it or ink it in the pink. So the magenta, we're going to do the same thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's put a few more out here. Dip your brush. And again, just add the water. It's okay to kind of blend these colors together, you know, where they're touching in the basket. And I blend it into the container too. Okay, so we can add some foliage in here now. So let's add the foliage from the little basket set. This is the branch that's going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, let's add a couple more here. And I think we can probably just do a few up here. There we go. So add water just to all these individual little leaves. Don't do anything with these vines. The vines are really fine. See how that stem is? Just leave that and just hit the leaves only. And don't forget to get all the light ones too. This is what makes your image look three-dimensional, is when you go from the dark to light. It really, really makes a difference. Okay, so we've got our foliage in here. We've got our flowers. So let's go on to the next one. This little clay pot up here. So we're going to add some vines to that. So let's use our vine again. You can change colors. You can change your greens and use different greens. I'm just using the number 72 right now, but you can change this out. Try this whole composition with maybe some fall colors. So olive greens and oranges and ochres and reds. Be beautiful. Okay, so we're just softening this green now, all of this foliage. And let's add some flowers to the top. So let's put our little daisies in here. I just love these guys. They're just so easy to use. Let's go back to our magenta again. Try not to overwork these things with a lot of color. Just kind of keep your color palette simple. I think you'll be much happier with it overall. Okay, so we're going to add these guys now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just add the water. It just really makes this color pop. Makes it look so natural. The neat thing about this is that it doesn't look like a stamp. Nobody would ever look at your composition and think that you stamped it. They would think, wow, you painted that. And that's what we want them to think. Okay, let's add just a few more little grasses in here. Kind of got an empty spot. So we can just fill that in with anything. Drag that color up and out. Okay, we can do something decorative really easily on these pots. It's always fun to do. Put a little color on your palette and just drag it over a couple of little decorative lines, or maybe something like this. Don't be afraid to try new things. Really darken where you can darken, because that's going to add a lot of dimension. This under here is going to have a shadow. See how those flowers hang over? So will this and this. And you could even take some of this blue and drag it onto your cobblestones. You get braver and braver as you go. And try these compositions that are a little more complex. You'd be surprised how well they turn out, because you're still using all the same stamps and they're all made to go together. It's kind of unlimited what you can do. Don't be afraid to add some color back in here too. If you want these to be really dark and vibrant, especially the ones in the front, add a little more color to it. We can do that with the magenta as well. Clean your brush off really good and add a little of this color. See how that just pops that out? Makes that even brighter. And you can do that with these little guys too. Just the ones in the front. Concentrate on the ones that are in the front. And leave these ones that are light to kind of fade back. There we go. Looks pretty good. One thing left to do, and that is to add the little grasses into the cobblestone. So let's do that. We're going to take the tiny little grass now, and we're going to ink it, and we're just going to kind of grow it in between these cobblestones. Just a few. Don't do the whole thing. Remember, it's just the idea of things. And then tip your brush and just kind of pull it out. Just a little bit. There we go. Sign your name and date, because this is your composition and you're an amazing artist. And look what we've accomplished. And every one that you do is going to be different. Just keep practicing and don't be afraid to try new things. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.